Here are 4 reasons that prove Starfield is not a 7 out of 10 game. Number 1, you have parents that actually care about you. I can do all those things a normal family would, like have dinner together and stiff my dad's used underwear. Number 2, you can eat sandwiches. This may not be a big deal to some, but as a guy who's celiac, being able to eat gluten is the role-playing experience I truly crave. Number 3, mass genocide. There's nothing stopping you from hopping off a ship and wiping out an entire planet. And number 4, you can choose your pronouns. I love this feature, as it's making bald men on Twitter rip out their non-existent hair. You'd think pronouns would make them happy, as it's finally something that won't leave them. Our adventure starts as many good days do, blasting miners between the cheeks. I'm on the jobby mining some ore when a gravitational reading off the chart hits. My first thought is your mother has landed on this planet, but no, it's actually a strange artifact. I reach out to touch it and get hit with a vision that gives me PTSD. We wake up in the character creation menu, so I try to make a character that looks like John from my Fallout 4 playthrough, but he ends up looking like a police officer who pulls over black guys for randomly selected questioning. Ready to roam our little base of operations, I meet the crew and instantly get shot down because of my appearance.
Whoa. You don't look good.
What the fuck? Why would you say that? I take revenge by eating his sandwich. You can take your sandwich for that.
That was my sandwich.
Oh man.
I then spend the next 10 minutes attempting to balance various objects on this guy's head because I thought it looked pretty flat. Oh, stop moving your head. Stay still. Stay still. Stay still. Stay still. Yes, yes. Oh. We step outside, a big ship lands, and out steps some dude whose tracking I break by trying to talk to him too early. Average Bethesda. Some space pirates then roll up on us and begin trying to take us out with small knives. Anyway, big man Barrett with his ship is like, wow, you're so brave and cute. Have my ship, robot and Apple Watch, so you can track your steps, as cardio is good for the heart and mind. The ship itself is pretty nice, apart from the distinct lack of a toilet. The first thing I'm going to be doing when I land on a planet is finding the nearest Starbucks to demolish their bathroom and then not purchase anything. Out in space, I get attacked once again by some space pirates working for the Crimson Fleet, so I land on another planet to take out the Crimson Fleet presence so I can fly my ship in peace. What I find inside their outpost will sicken even the toughest of you watching this video. Dirty dishes in the sink. Once again, the year is 2330. We have space travel, but somehow haven't figured out a more efficient way to wash the dishes outside of hiring Mexican mothers. There's even a note that says, like the video if you also hate doing the dishes. When I reached the leader, I didn't even realize I could chat with him first, as I shoot the barrels behind him, blowing everyone up. With the Crimson Fleet problem dealt with, I could now land in New Atlantis. Of course, the first thing I test upon arrival is what happens if I hit a kid with my axe. Unfortunately, nothing happens, apart from the entire city aggroing you. Bit of an overreaction if I'm honest. I didn't try and kill him, I simply tried to give him a severe laceration on top of the head. I go for a quick dip in the pond and discover that John can define the laws of physics by sprinting underwater. That's some serious endurance. So I hop on a train to the upper levels of New Atlantis and find the janitor who tells me about her husband, which is disappointing, but then also asks me if I could grab her a cappuccino. Being the good Samaritan I am, I oblige and search for the next 5 minutes for a coffee shop, as navigating this game is harder than navigating my girlfriend's emotions. But eventually, I do find her a coffee to grab. No, I didn't kill her, I just did a nice act because I'm working on myself. I get to the lodge, which is where Constellation, the crew who I'm now working with, are based. Their mission right now is to find out what these artifacts from earlier actually are, so I pop mine into their collection, and they all start floating. It's really cool, but do you know what's even cooler? I get my own room in the lodge with a double bed. I begin decorating the place, putting all the random objects I've gathered around the room. I pop 2 rolls of toilet paper on the bedside table for, if I need to blow my nose. I then spend the next while going into everyone else's room and stealing their furniture to make my room look even better. I get a wooden duck, lamp planter, and a box of tissues for the nightstand, as it looks classier than just having some bog roll. Sarah is like, yeah, let's get on with the main quest, we need to figure out what could be one of the biggest discoveries in human history, but first, I've got to be a good son and go see my parents. I get to my parents' place to tell them I got a new job, and they say they're proud of me. I nearly cried hearing that. Anyway, I then do what any child does when they've moved into a new place and steal all of their parents' furniture. Did you really move out of your parents' place if you didn't take a couple of saucepans with you? When searching, I find some hand lotion above my dad's bed, which makes me uncomfortable, so I leave to continue the main quest with Sarah. We nip over to Mars, as apparently there's some lad trying to flog a piece of metal that could be another artifact. When I arrive, I step off the ship to nearly suffocate, as I completely forgot I was just cruising around in my boxer shorts with no protection. Wow, what an achievement. Humans colonized on Mars Mars. Centuries of hard work and dedication. Knowledge passed down from generation to generation, just for me to come here and start stealing various items. Apparently there's consequences for my actions though, as in the middle of my chat with the bartender, I get taken away to some sort of prison. After a brief wait, I find myself speaking to a koi from the MCU. They say rather than punishing me for my sins, they're actually going to make me work for them, which is even worse. Please just put me in prison and let my cheeks be taken. They want me to go undercover into the Crimson Fleet and find out as much as I can. That'll have to go on the back burner for now though, as I return to Mars and continue my conversation with the bartender, who doesn't even ask me how I am, even though I was literally abducted right in front of him 20 minutes ago. The bartender won't give me any info on the artifact until I collect a debt racked up by one of his regulars. He's down in the mines, which is where the rejects hang out. Imagine being a miner. Down here I find the gym squad, with a woman benching what looks like £1,000, which may seem impressive, but the gravity down here is really low, so it's actually just like her benching a toddler. I find the guy with debt and persuade him to pay rather than just killing him and stealing it from his family. Once again, I am working on myself, and I promise it doesn't all backfire later on. So on my way back to the bar, I find a kid who wants to show me a song that they've been working on. I've put countless hours into Guitar Hero 3, so I'm pretty well suited to judge what real music is.
I'm a bunny, you're a bunny, he's a bunny, ha!
Jesus Christ, my ears are bleeding. Michael Jackson sang ABC 123 at the age of 11. Do better, and dress better. Your outfit looks like a gender reveal. I then kill their mother for raising such a disappointing child. I have the info needed about the artifact, but I first decide to visit Earth, just to make sure of one thing. It is indeed true. America is gone. Thank God. I also visit our moon to see if Neil Armstrong's American flag is there, so I can truly rid them of us once and for all, but I can't seem to find it anywhere. When I was younger, I used to get Lance and Neil Armstrong confused with each other, so I thought that there was a man out there who had not only become a world champion cyclist with one testicle, but had also landed on the moon in the same lifetime. It turns out I was wrong though, because Neil Armstrong never actually landed on the moon. Right, so back on the trail of the artifact, I have to travel to a galactic star yard. When I arrive, I run into a bit of trouble, battling my own IQ, as I cannot figure out for the life of me how to dock at the station. What is happening? Dock the ship, what are you doing? I thought simply approaching it would dock me automatically, but clearly I was very wrong. Dock the ship, bruv, what are you doing? Damn, I never thought docking with my boy for the first time would be easier than docking in a video game, but here we are. Eventually I have to give in, and I look up a YouTube video at how to dock on Starfield. So thanks to ZyFrostPet, you're a lifesaver. Once on board the station, I see a young lad has slipped and banged his head. How unfortunate. It actually appears to have happened to a lot of people aboard, so my first call to action is to raid the kitchen. These seaweed snack packs aren't gonna eat themselves. It turns out there's actually some bad guys on board shooting up the place, so I step in, as no one is going to steal my food. This is going to be donated to African villages. I'm obviously kidding, Africa is extinct. You can enjoy that food and throw away your leftovers without any guilt. So these bad guys are called ecliptics, but for the longest time, my dyslexic arse thought they were called epileptics, and I was wondering why epileptic people had formed their own faction. In hindsight, they wouldn't be very powerful. All you'd have to do is set off a strobe light in their headquarters to defeat them. This wild goose chase for this artifact part ends when we finally find the guy trying to sell it drifting out in space. We defeat the dudes trying to kill him, and he lets us take it for free. I also take all of his credits in his cargo hold and shoot him in the face. We return to the lodge excited to put the new artifact part into the puzzle, but first I've got to go decorate my room with these new plushies I found on my adventures. Every time I see plushies, I just think, what if they could talk? Oh, the stories they would tell about all the times they saw me get railed by I put the artifact into place, and look how pretty it all is. Sarah then has a chat with me, but Sarah looks pretty different, even cuter than before in fact. It wouldn't be a Bethesda game if there wasn't the occasional bug, but I gotta say, I experienced pretty much no bugs my whole time while playing. It's definitely the most polished Bethesda game I've ever played, but I do kinda miss the jank if I'm honest. You know, like how you miss a handsy uncle who's now in prison, you know it's for the best, but at the same time, you had some good memories together. We also meet a dude by the name of Sam Coe, who's going to be accompanying us on our next adventure. He also goes everywhere with his daughter, so you know he's literally no fun at all. He's voiced by the same guy who voices Adam Jensen in Deus Ex, so I may actually romance him, as I want to hear this man moaning in my headset.
The package may be small, but she can handle herself. You'll see.
So Samuel takes me to his hometown of Akila, not because he wants to wine and dine me, unfortunately, but because his father has some maps that could help us find another artifact piece. When we arrive there's some kind of bank robbery going down, and law enforcement are handling the situation dreadfully. God, this game is realistic. So the sheriff invites me, a complete stranger who's never been on this planet before, to go in there and calm things down. By calm things down, I of course mean slaughter every person I lay eyes on, including the hostages.
For the love of God, stop!
The game doesn't like that though, and gives me a bounty, so I have to reload the save and don't kill the innocent hostages this time. That's one of my biggest gripes with the game, is I can't kill anyone I want to, and even if I do it in a stealthy manner, everyone magically knows what I did somehow. Can't a man just commit some casual genocide every now and then? My reward for sorting the situation is 3,000 credits, so I pop into the bank to deposit it into a savings account. In the bank I notice life is back to normal, but they haven't cleared up the bodies I left in here. My man on the front desk is chatting about interest rates, while a dead body folded like a deck chair lays behind him. It turns out Sam's dad is actually a huge dick, so we won't get these maps off him easily. While Sam is chatting to him, I proceed to sneak around his dad's house and cause silent havoc. I steal his beer, take his onions out the fridge, put his clear pan back in the sink so he has to wash it again. I then go to his toilet and steal all of his toilet paper, so next time he goes to wipe, he'll be stranded. As it so happens, this is actually the same plan me and Sam devised to steal the maps. He talks to his dad, and I sneak around to grab the maps without him realizing. We grab the maps and dip. Something I actually really love about Bethesda as a company is that they do genuinely care about their fans. They put a character in Fallout 4 who was based on a fan who unfortunately died, and in The Elder Scrolls 6, they're putting the old lady who loves Skyrim actually into the game, as she fears she won't live long enough to see the game. So you may be asking, did they do anything like this in Starfield? Well, yes they did. Todd Howard was kind enough to feature your mother in the game. So the maps we found lead us to a cave where the Shore Gang is hanging out, and going in stealthy is advised here. I proceed to brutally murder every single person, using excessive force. Inside the cave I take a different approach and decide to level up my melee skill, so I use nothing but fists, like my ex would ask me to. It's honestly not the optimal playstyle, as I die a few times, but it's a lot of fun, throwing combinations like Holloway. I find the artifact, touch it, get visions again, and we leave the cave. Only on my way out, we met with the leader of the Shore Gang, Shore herself. She's obviously a little mad that we killed about 50 members of her gang. I managed to calm down the situation though, by telling her I just made a huge scientific discovery, and she's actually really curious about what was going on. It's good that she's a woman of science and not religion. I then proceed to kill Shore using my new pistol, because science is a lie. Jesus Christ is our true savior. I then have to make the long over-encumbered walk back to my ship, because apparently John has the stamina of a baby goose. We get back to the lodge, I add the artifact in, blah blah blah, it looks cool, but the real content is me adding this cute little green dinosaur plushie to my collection. I decide to stray away from the main quest for a bit and go explore the world. Or the universe, I guess. What happens next is one of my favourite moments from my entire playthrough so far. There I am grav jumping from system to system when I get a call from a local city asking for assistance. I land at Paradiso, a place for rich people to escape and do some rich people shenanigans, like going balls deep in a miner. The police chief asks me to investigate a ship that's been in their orbit for a while now, but they've had no luck communicating with it. Up I go, expecting it to maybe be aliens, or just a load of dead people with a mystery left behind. But to my surprise, they're all very much alive human beings. It's actually an Earth colony ship that began making its way over here 200 years ago. The ship has had generations of people on it, some giving birth on the ship itself to keep it sustained, and going for years to come. A real, remarkable achievement from mankind. But because the ship is 200 years old, they got beat out by newer technology, so they're actually very far behind. They want to land on Paradiso, but can't communicate due to their out-of-date tech. So I go back down to Paradiso and chat with Oliver, the owner of the entire place. He tells me they're welcome down here, but they'd have to work for their place, or I can supply them with enough stuff for them to move on to another planet. So here I am, prepared to tell them it's slave labor, or they give up on this 200-year-old dream, which hundreds of people sacrificed their life for. However, that's when I noticed something that says, optional, overload the reactor. Now look, George of a couple years ago would have chosen the overload option, obviously. But throughout the entire video, you've seen me. I've been changing my ways. I've been doing good deeds. I've been trying to be better. I've been a good boy. So I chat to the ship's leader and tell her her options. As it turns out, she's actually pretty cool with her and her crew having to work for their place at Paradiso. They just want to fulfill the dreams of their ancestors, that space travel is true, and they can achieve anything they want. This whole ship, this whole story, it's so inspiring. Even though they got got beat out. They set off from Earth 200 years ago. It's incredible that they've made it this far and sustained themselves for all this time. At the time that they set off from Earth, no one had ever landed this far out before. So here they are, about to make what once seemed like an impossible dream become a reality. I undock to head back to Paradiso, but what would you know? The entire ship blows up. How sad. I guess that old technology must have failed them right at the end. I have no idea how else something like this would happen. Anyway, as thanks for sorting out the issue, I get a few thousand credits and full access to use the resort, so I go to the rooftop bar, sink some bevies while thinking of the tragedy of the Earth colony that I had absolutely nothing to do with.